So guests, as a reminder, please know that we will have time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. And please use the chat feature to leave a question for the presenter if you have any that surfaced during the presentation. Guests, please be aware that we're also recording this presentation. It will be posted on our Middleton High School Athletics webpage, and it will be posted on the Big 8 Conference website within 48 hours of our event. I'd now like to take the time to introduce our speaker for this evening. Middleton High School, in conjunction with the Big 8 Conference, would like to welcome Mr. Rashard Griffith as our guest speaker this evening. Rashard is a UW-Madison men's basketball alumni, wherein during his years on the team, he led the Big 8 Conference in blocks and rebounds and was team MVP. Rashard was drafted into the NBA in 1995 and was inducted into the Illinois Basketball Hall of Fame in 2013. During his career, Rashard won 17 championships. Again, I repeat, 17 championships, and is the youngest player to ever win MVP in the Turkish Basketball League. The Big 8 Conference is honored to have Mr. Griffith speaking to us on a topic he is passionate about, which is working together to improve outcomes for student athletes. It is our honor and privilege to have Mr. Griffith with us this evening. Big 8 Conference, I introduce to you Mr. Rashard Griffith.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and to be able to talk to y'all. So what I'm gonna talk to y'all about is about recruiting. I'll walk y'all through some things that you can do to get better seen as a recruit that may not be getting the looks that you want. And then I'll talk you through how we at the University of Wisconsin, how we approach recruiting. So basically, recruiting is the lifeblood of all major universities. You try to get the best student athletes you can to stay competitive in all sports and in the classroom. So with that being said, if you're not a top 100 athlete, a top 100 prospect that's getting all the letters from all the major universities, there are ways that you can get noticed during this process. Several of these ways are you can send emails to the schools of your choice, the ones that you prefer. Send game films and highlight tapes to these schools. This gets you on the radar with these the schools of your liking. You can also play AAU ball, attend summer camps and showcases. It's very important that you understand that if you're not being recruited by a Division I school, there are always other options. You have NAIA, Division II, Division III, but you at all costs, if you're not getting attention, you always want to stay in front of those coaches. If that way you can get their attention, and you do this by playing in AAU, attending the summer camps and the showcases, because even if it's out of state and you got to travel out of state, it makes sense. You're investing in your career, your future. You're trying to go to be after high school. You're trying to continue with your collegiate career or your professional career, your career as far as being a student athlete. So coaches can start looking at you as early as 6th grade, but they can't start talking to you until your sophomore year of high school. That's when you're actually a recruitable athlete from 6th grade on. But the contact phase comes in. You can start receiving letters during that 6th grade to your freshman year. But this we'll show that we're letting you know that we're interested in you, and we're looking at you and we're following your progress as a student athlete. But we can't start officially talking to you until your sophomore year. So after that, so that officially starts the recruitment process in your sophomore year. So how do we do it at the University of Wisconsin? So the first thing that we do is we look at what players we have on our current roster. And normally we're looking at the players that are going to be leaving within 2 years. So the determining factor is if they have a 5th year somewhere and if they had a red shirt and they got an extra year. But we look at that, and if we don't have, so say for instance, like we know this year we got 5 seniors starting: Brad Davison, Demetrius Trice, Nate Reavers, Michael Potter, and Aline Ford. So we know those 5 guys are seniors. So we know they're all gone after the season's over with. So we started looking 3 years ago, or even 4 years ago, for their replacements as coming. That's why we have so many freshmen this year, and that's the process we do. So we build a big board, and we put the 5 best players that we're looking at, the top 5 players at their position, from point guard to center, and we list them on the big board. And this big board will be, this is like a white chalkboard directly in front of you. It's in every coach's office, and we walk in there and we scout these players from their freshman year, sophomore year. We start talking to them, and then we have to eventually. What happens is that we start looking for what they can bring to our team. So when we look for in basketball recruits and student athletes, when we're recruiting student athletes, we look for basketball players that have great fundamentals. That means your shooting skills, your passing skill, defense, high basketball IQ. And these are things that we look for in student athletes that we're recruiting to the University of Wisconsin. So once we do that, we follow you throughout your high school career. But we eventually have to narrow that list down from 5 to 2, let's say. And we have our top 2 prospects at each position. And then actually the student athlete will narrow their choices down, because you have so many universities that are coming after 5, 4, 3-star athletes, and they have many choices available to them. So we start narrowing the list down to, I say, the top 2. What's unique about us is that because we're so hard academically to get into, how we narrow our list down further is we start looking at the academic portion of it, the character of the athlete, and these things. How we do that is first thing we do is when we go to recruit an student athlete, we go to their school, as we stop by the attendance office or the main office, and what we wind up doing is we first get your transcript to see your grades, and then after we do that, we start talking to the people in the office that know you better, that's been knowing you for 4 or more years, and getting a better grasp on what kind of person you are. We talk to your teammates, past teammates, of course, your coaches and your parents. We also, when we're recruiting student athletes, we recruit the whole family, because we developed the culture at the University of Wisconsin. We developed the culture in what we look for. So I'm gonna use Frank Kaminsky as an example. So we recruited Frank Kaminsky from out of Chicago, Illinois. We got him. We're known for not a one and done factory. We're known for getting our student athletes on campus and developing them. Frank brought into that process. He brought into the process understanding that he needed to get stronger. He needed to get his skill set better. So he worked on that from his freshman year, his sophomore year. Each year, he progressed in the way we wanted him to progress. And eventually, he left, going his junior and senior year to 2 Final Fours, and ultimately being College Player of the Year his senior year, and on to the NBA draft, which he was a lottery pick in the NBA. So we look for those athletes that come in that are willing to work hard, get along with their teammates, excel in class, because when we recruit the whole family, your parents are giving the student athletes to us for us to continue the development of the young man and woman that's in our possession. So we have you for 4 to 5 years. So when you come in, one way you may be rough around the edges. We want to smooth those edges out and make sure that when you leave there to University of Wisconsin, 1, you got a degree. 2, you're able to function in any phase of life, whether it's being a CEO, being going to run a family business. I'll give you an example about character so you can understand. Carter Higginbotham, one of our current players on our roster, his father participated in track and field. He was a track and field All-American back in the 1950s. He is a booster for the University of Wisconsin, and his son is on the team. He's a preferred walk-on. Carter knows he's not going to the NBA. He knows he's not going to be a professional athlete, but the way he approaches things. Like when I talk to him, I tell him when he's having these meetings or we having team functions and all these people are around him to always make contacts and keep those cards that are given to you for future reference, because he's actually being groomed to take over the business once he graduates. His father is a real estate and a big time real estate person in Chicago, and he's developed so many buildings in Chicago, um, and that's where his fortune came from. So Carter looks to take that over upon graduating, and that goes to, like I said, the character of the players that we're recruiting. We recruit high IQ, high basketball IQ players. The character, that's very important, especially moving forward, because you got to be around these guys, and the season that we're in COVID is even more important, because these young men are locked down in an apartment building, and all they're seeing is each other from the time they wake up to their roommates to practice, back from practice back to their apartments, and that's all they're seeing is each other. And we've been blessed not to have any knock on wood, not to have any cases with the men's basketball team as of yet, as far as COVID related activity. So we've been blessed with that, and that's why I said the character comes in, how you get along with your teammates on and off the floor, and these are things that we look at. We look at when we're recruiting athletes. Tell you a little bit about me and my recruiting process. The recruiting process is difficult. From my point of view, it was difficult because I was a top five prospect coming out of high school back in 1993, and I was getting recruited by every major university. So what wound up happening for me is that I got tired of the late night phone calls, the extra coming by knocking on the door. My mother got tired of it, so I ended my recruiting in my junior year, and I chose the University of Wisconsin. I got it out of the way. That way, I was able to focus on finishing strong in my academics and on the court. So every path that's taken won't be the same. Every one of you, every student athlete won't be a Division I player. Doesn't mean that you can't go continue your education or continue your playing career. You can go, like I said before, NIAA, Division I, Division II, Division III. There are several options out there for you to choose from. And if the end goal is you being a professional athlete, I can tell you that I played with several players during my 17 years as a professional athlete that I never heard of, wasn't a household name, and that were great players. They knew how to play ball, period. You know how to play, you know how to play. Some get a break and get a chance to go D1, others don't. So with that being said, I will open it up for questions if anybody have questions or you want me to talk more in depth about something I mentioned.
I'll start with one question for you.
Yep.
Can you speak more to what high basketball IQ means to a high school athlete? How would a high school athlete assess if they have high basketball IQ?
Well, I know y'all know how they always talk about how LeBron has a high basketball IQ. So we relate that to, okay, cool. Your best skill set, let's say, may be your jump shot, right? So we all know that in the sport of basketball that you have off nights. So upon having an off night, does that mean that the rest of your game suffers and your team suffers, especially if you are the guy on the team and they depend on you for so much? So can you facilitate the ball? Or are you going to just go into a shell and say, okay, my shot's not falling, so I'm not going to play defense. I'm not going to get my teammates involved. So a player with a high basketball IQ understand that, okay, I'm off my game tonight. How can I help my team get a win? Because that's the bottom line, helping your team to get a win. So you can play decoy. You know you're going to get double teamed or they run a special defense for you, draw, kick to one of your players. It might be one of your teammates that night. Are you willing to defer to the teammate that's having a hot hand that night? Also, being able to see the play develop ahead of everybody else. So normally that's for point guards, but we believe that it doesn't matter. You know, if you're a big guy, you can pass the ball. You see the way they're playing defense, and you see how they're playing the back door. Your offensive player, your teammate can back door, and you're telling him to set it up. You're telling him in timeouts. You're telling him on free throws. Hey, next time we run this play or this set, you can backdoor that guy. See how he's playing you. You see these things ahead of time, and you're able to utilize them for the benefit of your team. So, like I said, always being involved in the game, always knowing where you at in the game, knowing if you're in the penalty. Some guys just get out there, you just go out there and play. You know, knowing where you at in the game, knowing that, okay, what you need, what possession you need the game, slow the game down, speed the game up. And we need this, and we want this from us personally, from University of Wisconsin. We want all 5 players to be engaged in that, know the game, know that we're in the bonus and that we're a good free throw shooting team, and attack the basket, put the pressure on the referees. Instead of sitting out there, the coach can tell you, okay, we're going to run this set. We want to get the ball here. But if you see an avenue and you know that you can go and attack the basket, then by all means, we want you to do that. As long as the outcome is a good play or a positive play for us moving forward. And you have to be able to see those things, and you develop that at an early age. Like LeBron, he had that when he was in high school. Then it just got better as he's gotten older. And as your game diminishes, as your athleticism declines and you get older, you're not running as fast, jumping as high, you start to think the game more than you do when you're younger.
Thank you.
No problem.
Rashard, can you talk more and maybe share a little bit about how recruiting looks different right now in COVID times? And, you know, you got quiet period for D1. How have you guys had to get creative, and how can students be creative?
Oh, man. Everything's been over Zoom. So like we're doing right now, this is how we've been recruiting players. We stay in touch with them. They've actually been having AAU tournaments in different places. I guess they just determined to go, but for us to protect everyone, you know, us including the players, our current players and our families, of course, everything's done on COVID. We just keep in touch, make sure that when we have live periods and dead periods, of course. Dead periods is when we can't reach out and talk to the parents or the athletes. A live period is when we can go, we can see them in person, we can communicate with them freely, text, everything is done via Zoom and text right now. So that's how it looks in the season of COVID. Everything is done online, just like we're doing right here. We sit here, we'll be in the basketball offices, and then the family gets on, and the entire family, mother, fathers, brothers, sisters, we invite everybody. Like I said, we recruit the family. And then we sit there and we talk through what we're doing, what we're looking for them if they come to join the University of Wisconsin, and ask them what they're looking for from us. It's definitely very difficult in these times. And I'm thinking it's something we're gonna have to get used to, is which I'm sure that y'all getting used to, is doing a lot of Zoom meetings and class work on Zoom. It was different, even when I was in college. And for the boys, when I talked to them, they adjusted well to not going to class because we had online classes too. But it's just like it's different somehow. It's just like you can't go out, or you can, but you know it's a risk that you might contract COVID and bring that back to your team. Then you feel bad. So now everybody's locked inside, and your only means of communication is, which is your phone, and now via Zoom. So it's definitely difficult right now, but it's definitely doable because of Zoom made that possible, and all the media outlets that you can do FaceTime. We FaceTime athletes too on their phones and their mobile phones and stuff like that. See how they doing, what they got going on for the day. Sometimes they'll chime us in on their workouts and let us see how they're doing. And then sometime one of our basketball managers will show them us practicing and stuff like that as well.
Rashard, how are your players doing mental health wise during this? You know, you said they they wake up and they see their teammate, they go to bed, and the last person they see is their teammate. Like it's their teammates 24/7. But how are they doing mentally, and what are you guys doing to help support them?
Well, we always have an on-call sports psychologist for them to talk to if need be, but they're actually doing well. One of the things that's been a blessing for us is that they all wanted to live together in the same apartment building. So literally the Cole Center is right there. They walk across the parking lot, across the school district or where the school district is right there, and they live in that apartment building right there. So they all live in the same apartment building. And they've been doing that for the past 4 years. They've been doing that. So yeah, so ever since Brad and them got here, Brad, that group got in here, they've been doing that. And they did that on their own. And the reason they did that was to form a tighter bond with one another. So they're always in each other's rooms watching last weekend, a couple weekends ago, they were watching the Bears play whoever they played on Sunday Night Football. They watched the Badgers the other day when we played last week. So when we played Illinois, they watched that. So they're quite used to doing that and being around each other from practice because what they would normally do is they would go to practice. When they finished practice, we had had a meal for them. They get their meals and they take their meals and they just go home, do their homework, go to the study table, do their homework, or excuse me, or just go home and just eat together. And so this hasn't been such of a big change for them because they've been doing this pretty much the whole time. This COVID just makes things more difficult because they're not able to go out. If they wanted to go out and about and even hang with their friends and stuff like that, it's just now primarily you just stuck with the team.
Rashard, what would you say are a few key things that a high school player could really and truly focus on that will help him or her to be a recruitable player? So if their goal is to be able to get on the college's recruiting radar, whether that be D1, D2, whatever the level may be, what do you say to be a few key things that they could focus on as a high school player that may help them get on the recruiting radar?
It never hurts, like I said earlier, it never hurts to sit there and sell yourself. So you sell yourself, your platform is the basketball court, football field, whatever your sport may be. So other ways you can sell yourself is, okay, cool. You know what? Let me reach out I like this university. They fit me. And I believe, let me talk about that for a second. Fit is important. Like I say, how we go look for certain athletes that fit our program, you have to be honest with yourself and say, okay, this is the type of player that I am. I fit in this system. So why would you be a up-tempo player and come to the University of Wisconsin? We don't play that. But if you go to Michigan State or Michigan, they play a more, or Illinois, they play a more up and down freelance style like that. So you have to pick a school that's going to best fit you where you think that you can go and get an opportunity to go play. You can send emails, email the coaching staff. We get tons of emails. We get, like I said, Andy Van Vliet, who played for us a few years ago that transferred. He was from Switzerland or Sweden, and he emailed us videos, game videos, highlight videos, kept emailing because he didn't get a response. He kept pushing the issue, and then sent highlight tapes. Of course, you can play AAU, and summer camps are important. Summer camps are important because if you have a school that you're looking to attend, the best thing to do is find out when they're having a summer camp, which is going to be difficult now because we're in COVID, but still find out. And even if you have to travel out of state to go to that camp, to get in front of that coaching staff, you want to get in front of that coaching staff. And LaRon Bowman, who unfortunately has some personal issues at Leader University, that's how we found him. He traveled from Detroit to Wisconsin to come and play in our advanced camp and our elite camp. And that's how he got on our radar. We didn't know who he was before, but after he came and impressed us then, oh, you know what? We got his information. Now that we got his information, we know he's from Detroit. We started looking at him, and then his teammate was just as good as him, and his teammate went to Northwestern. So that's how we found him. And his father had no problem with driving him to the camps and stuff like that, once again, you want to get on the radar. So if you're not a top 100 player and everybody's knocking down your door, there are other ways to get noticed. Playing AAU ball, you might play against a guy that's top 100. So guess what? If you're playing against a guy that's top 100, you know everybody's going to be over there looking at him. So that's an opportunity for you to show and tell right there. Once again, opportunity to get on the radar in front of Division I coaches. And just because you don't get offers from D1 schools, there's nothing wrong with going with D2, D3. All that means is this is a smaller school. That's all. You don't have the 100,000 students. You might have 30,000 students or 50,000 students. That's all that means. You still get the same education. You still play basketball. You still play football. It may not be at the highest level, but guess what? Randy Moss went to Marshall, wasn't a big time school, one of the greatest receiver players in the NBA or NFL. And you got several guys that played in the NBA and that I played with overseas. Darius Hargrave played with me, never knew the man, was a brilliant scorer, 6'4", 6'5", slasher, can shoot, athletic. Never seen the man a day of my life till he came on my team when I was playing in Romania. And was the best player on our team as far as perimeter players, was the best player on our team and helped us win championships. And so it doesn't matter. But you can play. And like I said, you have to be your biggest critic, and you have to be your biggest salesperson as well.
Thank you.
Same lines of all those good things to do. Can
I
you
didn't
give
hear
us
you.
some examples?
I didn't hear the first part of your question.
Oh, I was just saying, you've given some great examples of things to do. Can you also give some examples of things not to do, or things that would be a turnoff or could hurt your chances of being recruited, as far as, you know, the reaching out or communicating or use of social media? Any examples like that?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. You want to be above board with everything. You don't want to be on social media and have tweeted something out or sent something out that was offensive or demeaning to somebody else, or a different race or a person or gender. We don't here at the University of Wisconsin. Patrick Herb, he handles all that with the social media with the boys. We don't have that. We don't do that. If somebody tweets something offensive about us or about a player, we let the proper people handle that, because that can follow you for the rest of your life. Once you put that out there in the air, you tweet something, you text something. I mean, even if you delete it, they no taking it back. It's still there. And I would say always, you want to be humble. You want to be able to get along with your teammates, your teachers. Like I said, we go back and we talk to the teachers. We go back and we talk to your former teammate. That can be grade school that we go back to. We're making an investment in a student athlete. So we need to know what we're going to have on campus. And we need to know if you're able to deal with these pressures that are about to be put on you. I mean, you got to learn how to handle your academics. You got to learn how to have academics, practice, game schedule, traveling, being away from home. All these things can affects everybody in a different way. So you want to be just a down to earth, open person that's willing to be coachable, be able to take constructive criticism, and be able to learn that, okay, now you're on your own, and it may be the first time that you're on your own. Living up your time. Think about the biggest problems that we have in college is that you have more time on your hands between classes and practice and all this stuff. So you sitting up here like, oh, I'm free, when you're not free. Get your classwork done, get something to eat. Khalil Iverson, he would sit there, he wouldn't eat all day. And then we got a game, and you sitting up here eating a bowl of Fruity Pebbles before the game, and then you get that sugar rush and then you crash. And we give you everything you need to perform at a high level. But like I said, he got all time. He want to sleep. He want to be on his phone. It's all types of things. You have to learn how to manage your time. And you start doing that in high school. One of the things that I like that Nate Reavers and Brad Davis and them did is they knew what they wanted to take when they got to college. So this wasn't allowed when I was back in school, back in the 90s. But you can take your math, you can take your science, You could take your English. You could take a lot of these courses in high school now, and they carry over to your college credits. And that way, you don't have to worry about taking those courses in college, which lightens your load up, which is a good thing. So there's several things that you can do, and you can look for what not to do as far as like recruiting. Like I said, you don't want people talking bad about you. Of course, none of us do, but you don't want to sit up there, because that's one thing that will happen, is that we go and we talk to the coaches. We go and we talk to the teachers. The first thing I told you, the first stop that we make is, think about it. I go to the parents. Of course, you're gonna tell me your son or your daughter is excellent at everything that they do. Now, I go ask somebody in the attendance office, I might get 3 different opinions, 3 different points of views. I go talk to your grammar school coach, they tell me one thing. I talk to your JV coach, he tell me something else. And I talk to your varsity coach, and they tell me something else. So it's like we go talk to everybody. So all we want to see is a steady improvement. Even if you start off rough, we just want to see a steady improvement in you each and every single year, skill-wise, character-wise, and of course, academically. So if you stay on top of those things and not let the social medias and the peer pressure get to you, it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to do something that you won't get some kind of look.
I think kind of piggybacking off of that, and I asked you this question before as well. In thinking about that and saying you have, 2 players or maybe even 3 players from different regions and from different areas, and they all have kind of the similar stats that has caught your attention on the radar list, what would be a determining factor or differentiating factor on what would make you choose one over the other if they all appear to have similar stats and things that you might be looking for in regards to their ability? What would be something that would set one apart over the other?
Well, for us, it comes down as academics, because we're so hard to get into academically. Your ACT, your SAT scores, your GPA, those things right there. Because, like I said, we're just so difficult to get into. That'll be the deciding factor. We can take, like you said, you can be the #1 player in the country, and we want you to come here. But if you don't have the grades, then they're not going to let you in. So we have to go with maybe one B or two. So in that case, because they have better grades, and that'll be like our main. That'll be the main deciding factor. Then also to character. You don't want to get somebody that comes in and that would disrupt the flow that you built, the culture that you built. And all it takes is one person can come in there and start manipulating the situation, the players, and getting the next thing you know, you got a mutiny on your hands, and now the coach loses the locker room, and the season is lost. So that's why. So I would say those 2 things: academics and character.
Thank you.
No problem.
Again, if anyone has any questions, you can put them in the chat. Let us know. Any questions? Well, if we don't have any questions, we gonna wrap things up. Thank you, Mr. Griffith, for your time this evening. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for investing in our conference and in our community. So we appreciate you coming out. And again, as a reminder to everyone, this will be up on our Middleton High School site and also on our Big 8 conference site within the next 24 to 48 hours. So thank you for joining us this evening, and thank you, Mr. Griffith. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, everybody have a blessed evening.